So like the first thing was they told me like, hey, if you want to like be absolutely sure of knowing when you can talk, just look up and look at this screen above you and just wait for the transition to end. And so just before I spoke was literally me just like staring up at the screen, waiting for the transition. And then once I saw the transition, I just immediately put my head back to facing the screen. This one, I don't know. I couldn't really hear it, so I guess we'll hear it here. I asked for a crowd countdown, and with the headset they gave me, I could not hear the crowd. So if Wonder J and Yoshi Pro hadn't started counting down, I actually genuinely wouldn't know if the crowd was counting down. So I'm glad that they started talking, because I had no idea. I couldn't even hear the crowd. This first section, I wanted to commentate the whole manor myself, and then the whole manor, and then the tunnels, I wanted to commentate myself. And then, like, starting after that, we were gonna the goal was we were gonna start handing off commentating, like rotating between. It would be me, then Yoshi Pro, then Wonder J, then back to me. I don't think that worked out very well, because I think I mostly interjected and started commentating myself. And here in the tunnels, this was the trick that I was spending the most time practicing, was a really awkward jump reset. So I mentioned it here, these jump resets, I have to do quarter circle inputs for them. And it's one of the main reasons I have like the input viewer to just show this. But one of these jumps, I have to do quarter circle inputs into a 180 directional input. And that's what makes the jump really awkward. And this was also, when we get this teleportation badge, I spend this time explaining how the badge works, because one of the first times I wanted donations to be read was going to be about the time that the badge would get equipped. And so I wanted an understanding of how the badge worked before that point. And so here's where the tricky jump comes in. So this jump here. So that jump is a whole lot harder than it looks like, because you're going those 90-degree turns, and then you have to do a full 180-degree turn after that while still hugging the wall. And there I'm explaining how the, yeah.
So I'm just going to let the yo-yo do a whole bunch of damage for me. And then these big guys with the hammers, they take a lot of damage. Like, they have a lot of health, and I just don't want to deal with them. So I'm just going to knock them into the water. And now there's a little money bag that spawns. I'm going to collect that and leave. And now we're going to enter the safe house.
So this was going to be the moment where we first hand off the commentary. One of the reasons why I wanted to, like, I could definitely ramble through the whole run myself, but one of the downsides is most, like, in the last 5 to 6 years, I have not spent a whole lot of time talking nearly as much. I used to work retail for years, and it required me to talk constantly all day, every day. But going years now without having to constantly talk, having to talk constantly for like 30 minutes nonstop, I start to lose my voice. And even here at the tail end of this run, I start to lose my voice. So I wanted to originally have the commentary rotate more so that I wouldn't have to worry about suddenly losing my voice and then it's standing out and becoming so obvious that I'm losing my voice.
And then here's our next cousin Pippo. We're not actually going to talk to Pippo, so everyone can say bye-bye to Pippo.
That was a sort of gag I wanted to do. Again, I couldn't hear the crowd, so I don't know if anybody actually said anything, but I just called for like the crowd to say bye. That was one of the things that I knew I wanted to take back commentary over, was for that.
Once I get to this first screen, I'm going to pause. I'm going to choose return to safe house. I've paid off that first contract, so I'm going to take the next contract, which will give me just enough badge points to equip this teleportation badge. So now we finally get to see what this looks like. And from this point, I'm just going to collect some money to pay off this next contract. So now would be a good time to read off some donations.
Thanks, Silver. We've got $10 from Lori D. Bunnykins, who says, is that a goated runner playing a goated game? Or rather, a yo-yo batted game?
It's funny because this exact moment is when Lori did Pipistrello for a different marathon. I think it was GD Queer, I'm pretty sure. She asked for donations at this exact same point, and I donated during her run at this exact same point. So I thought that was really funny that her donation basically happened the exact same time that I donated for her run when she was doing a marathon run of this.
Yes, and don't forget, we have that bid war going. For this game, we can either hit or hug the final boss. Currently, Hug is in the lead by a healthy margin, but those who want to choose violence, you've still got time.
All right, so now we paid off this contract. I'm going to return to the safe house. We're going to take our next contract. This one is actually to boost our attack stat. And we're going to enter our first dungeon, though we're not actually going in the dungeon to complete it. Every main dungeon in this game requires a sort of mini dungeon to be completed first. In this case, we need to complete the mini dungeon to enter to get like an actual ticket for this festival, but I can just sneak my way in. I can also sneak my way past these NPCs. And then the gimmick of this dungeon is a lot of stuff are controlled by these color switches that change these little poles. Again, we're not here to actually interact with the dungeon or its gimmick or even go for the boss. We're here because this dungeon has a specific move we want to learn.
This I do feel bad how long this trick took.
So if I use the teleportation badge on the same frame that I screen transition, it'll change where it'll change the teleportation to apply to the new screen. And I want to do it for this screen so I can get to the other side of this gap here. That way I can actually skip having to do anything with these little poles.
It's so bad.
It's not very easy to hit one frame. I promise I'm not nearly this bad at hitting it. Come on.
It's a rough trick, as stated, like frame perfect.
There we go. So now I end up over here, and I can jump. Now I learn UFO throw.
Yeah, that sucked how long that took. In one of the practice runs I was doing before this, it literally took me almost a minute to do that. So, and I chose to play, like they gave me an option to play at 60 hertz or a high refresh rate monitor. The game, the logic still runs at 60, but I've been playing at 144 since they added the ability to. So my cope is that the game is running slightly slower than I've been used to in the last several months.
Here's the second dungeon, the first one we're actually going to complete. This one is a stadium where we need to get into the stadium, but they're only allowed at this point. So we're going to go around town and collect 5 of the 10 fans that exist in order to create a fan club so we can get in. And thankfully, the fans will actually pay us to join our fan club, so we're just going to use them to pay off our contract. This guy is conveniently with some bags of money. Now I want to get a specific...
So this zip right here, so the reason, like, there's twofold reasons why we want to get this zip. So I mentioned it here. This screen right here has this little safe house. We want to zip past this screen so that the safe house that I can return to when I pause and choose return to safe house is still a safe house in front of the dungeon. The second reason is zipping from there puts us right past all of these barriers where you're normally supposed to go through a sewer section to pop up here so you can then use your yo-yo to hit this and unlock these paths. A couple days into December, I found a backup for if you fail this zip that unfortunately it doesn't. There's two different ways that the zip can fail. You can either land on this screen right here, or you can land on the screen with the safe house. I found that most of the time I was failing the zip and landing here, so I found a backup where you can zip back to the previous screen and attempt the zip again to get back here, still allowing us to not have to worry about getting the wrong safe house screen and still being able to get to this spot. So that was something I found while I was doing at the time I was trying to do at least one run throughout all of December, like one run a day. And then after like 2 weeks, I started getting burnt out on all of the practice. So I took a break for a little bit.
Land past these poles, and then past these ones, so we can hang out with this guy. Now, you can see our debt is already paid off. So we're going to come over here. And the reason I wanted to do a very specific skip or zip for that screen is the safe house that I can return to from the pause menu depends on the last screen I was on that had a safe house. I want to make sure the last safe house I was on was this screen.
And then here's another joke I tried to make. Again, I couldn't hear the crowd, so I don't know how people fell for this.
I'm going to place a $1,000 bet on myself. Don't actually do this. You will never win. Gambling does not work out. Please do not actually gamble.
Seems like a safe bet. Always bet on yourself.
And then here,
Not financially.
this very tricky zip will get me into this room. So if you guys want to explain what I'm going to do from here.
And we're gonna be doing a bunch of wall bounces, like jump cancels. There's a lot of buttons that we gotta press around the room to open the door.
Yeah, normally you need to be using like a wall ride ability, I believe, here. So, and because we don't have that, we just gotta do the jump reset.
And
Jump
these
reset's
are
like so powerful.
These are near frame perfect.
So that enemy I just killed right there, I don't mention it here. I didn't make a note to like have them talk about it. I specifically will always kill that enemy because when you have the auto cutscene skip feature enabled, and only when that's enabled. If you get cutscenes normally, it doesn't work this way. If you have the auto cutscene skip, your hitbox is still active when it's skipping those cutscenes, and there is a chance, and it's happened to me before, where that enemy will attack me during the auto cutscene skip and will actually kill me while the cutscenes are being skipped. And if I get killed right there, depending on how long I've been on this platform, I'll either respawn right here, which isn't a big deal, or I'll respawn back up here, which is annoying. So I will always kill that enemy because there have been at least a handful of runs that I've lost to dying during the cutscene skipping because they can still hit you during them.
Things to him. So it's very impressive.
It's like chaining this many back to back to back is really.
And then I go to this. The only reason I screen transition right there is to preserve when I game over, because if I were to fail this trick enough times to lose all of my health, the way the game will handle your respawns is whatever room you last entered and the screen you last entered from is where you'll respawn. But because I zipped into here, my respawn point will not be in here. So if I fail this trick enough and lose all my health, I will not respawn in this room. So I screen transition there, come back into the screen. That way, if I do die, I just respawn here.
We're going to do that same transition of warp I did earlier, but now there's a bit of a risk, and I got a first try.
Nice.
So
So now I'm going to
thankfully,
switch.
done for safety, but I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't really have the time to explain this whole dungeon's gimmick, but the main goal is this dungeon is split in half, where the left half that we're through in this area right now, you go through this part to learn the wall ride ability and to collect a battery to hit this little switch. and then you take the wall ride ability and do the rightmost side of the dungeon to clear that area and get another battery to clear the other side. And you're using both batteries to get into this VIP booth, but these transition warps allow us to skip doing literally all of that. And then now we're here.
So this boss, we're actually not fighting the boss himself. We're fighting his football team. And this is a mix of American football and literally everywhere else in the world football. So we take like an American football and have to go score it in a soccer / other world actual football field. So right now, only thing that's going to be changing as I go is they're going to slowly...
I was hoping to explain it a little faster than this. This is one area of the run where it is very easy to lose time. We have spent a lot of time trying to figure out like optimal spots where you can throw the yo-yo and everything like that. But one of the main cruxes is the way the football works with these barriers is the football will bounce off these barriers. We cannot carry it through these. There is an issue with that where, because we're using the teleport badge to just teleport around the field, if we throw the yo-yo and it lands on one of these barriers and then I teleport to the yo-yo while holding the football, because it's not allowed to be on these fields, it bounces off, but it bounces all the way back to wherever you were last standing with it before the teleport. And so a lot of the time we spend with this, like routing out this whole fight, is trying to find specifically paths we can walk and throw the yo-yo and know we're not going to teleport onto these barriers.
Certainly wouldn't want to bet against you. $25 from Midnight John, who says, I keep misreading the Pipistrello title as the Cursed Yoyo, and now all I can picture is the main character wielding Kirby. And $100 from Patrick, who says, Argic went too fast for me to donate, but hopefully Silver can still use this boost to...
This one, not only am I getting around, like the yo-yo can't phase through these turrets, but if I jump down from here, and I could throw the yo-yo from this spot and teleport to it, but with the way that these barriers are laid out, there's a chance the yo-yo will land on a barrier if I throw it from here. So I instead just opt to take it a little bit further and a little bit slower to just throw it from here where I know it'll be safe. And unfortunately, I did end up teleporting without the football, so I do have to go back for it. And this is one of the main reasons why this can lose a bunch of time, is these enemies will just randomly jump at you. And they can either get scared and not jump at you, or they can just jump you. And if you take any damage, you drop the football. And then they take it, they will start walking with it, they can throw it amongst themselves, and then if they have the football when you hit them, they will throw it in a random direction when they die. And so this whole exchange is the biggest like time waster. It is something that can be done very fast, but it's also can spiral out of control just as quickly. And then I pick up these bags of money purely for safety. So later in the run, there's a part where I do like a battle arena. The route we would normally do would only leave us with the exact amount of money to spare to pay for the arena once. And we do the arena with 3 health, which isn't a big deal, but in the event that I die during the arena, in a normal run, I would not have the money to reattempt it. And so during this, I'm picking up extra money so that if I do happen to die during the arena, I have enough money to reattempt it. And then you can kind of see my cat has shown up.
I want my money. There we go. Debt paid off.
So there's different types of zips, and that's like short zip, I believe, right?
Yep.
If you walk back, it keeps you in one room, because zips can go past multiple rooms usually, but if you go back, it's a single room zip.
There, I just kind of messed up the menuing.
From the yo-yo, after I throw it off the screen, is a short zip. Standing close to the screen transition is a normal zip, and then there's another type of zip we'll see in a little bit later. Here, I'm just going to zip all the way back down to the south part of town. And we're going to go find a little secret alcove that houses another badge we're going to pick up. For this puzzle, I need to grab this manhole cover and take it into the sewer with me. The little puzzle in this room is I have to find a way to press 3 switches, so I'm going to use the manhole cover to press...
And then I pick up some extra money as well, again, for safety, in case I mess up the arena and need to pay for it again.
Question: how do you get the manhole down there?
Very good question. Don't ask questions.
Okay, sorry.
So now we unlock the cheater's train.
The other cheater badge, this game does have 6 cheater badges. They don't, like, outside the teleportation and the train badge, this one here, they aren't all useful. We have tried finding uses for most of them. The only other one that has any real value is for a move we don't even learn in the 80%, and it's the walk the dog move, where we can, like, ride the yo-yo. One of the cheater badges allows us to change the direction, where normally you're just locked into whatever direction you were facing. One of the badges lets you actually just change the direction you're rolling. That would be useful if we actually learned the ability.
NPC in here will teach me an ability. That guy right there with the cool sunglasses. This guy will teach me the ability to parry attacks, and that will let me stun enemies if I can time it correctly. So in this case, this guy, I'm not even going to look at him. Still gets parried.
So cool.
That's so cool.
So that is one of the defensive abilities you can learn. That is the only one we will learn. We're going to now immediately go learn our only offensive ability from this little NPC who wants to charge us to learn it. If we keep telling him we're not interested, he'll make it cheaper. So I only want to pay $100
My cat is
for it.
trying to get on my lap.
Now that I have this, I'm going to finally cash in this letter that I've been carrying with me. And it's just for a battle arena.
This zip right here I found not too long ago. Just skips a little bit of travel.
You got it. We have $50 from Daro, who says, "Hi AGDQ, I'm watching this lovely event every year, and today I decided to donate something."
Yeah, we have to pay $400 to enter this. So normally, if I was going for PB attempts, I would have only $500 or $400 to spare for this. So I can only get 1 attempt in. So if we die during this, it's a reset. So here, I just took extra money to ensure that even if I somehow died, I would have enough money to reattempt it.
So have a bid war for Resident Evil 2 later.
And here I was kind of concerned that I might die, because I usually don't take this much damage this early on. But I was just getting very unlucky.
Say, donating to the Leon bid war in honor of my friend Kristen, who is Leon's biggest fan. Thank you so much. And we've got a $100
Like there, right there, I was kind of concerned that guy was going to hit me. This specific screen can get kind of scary with all the enemy shots, so I just played a little bit slow. Thankfully right here we get 2 health back, so we don't have to worry about it.
we can get that vent chat.
We probably have time for 1 or 2 more.
Awesome. Got a $25 donation from Kaz, who says, "Longtime viewer, love GDQ. Good luck to the runner."
And this is the final wave, I believe, right?
Yep.
So this arena gives us the demon badge, I believe it's called. It gives you double strength, and double strength is a lot of strength.
And a lot of money, too.
Yeah. So the main thing is we get what's called the demon badge for completing that. The demon badge doubles our attack stat, but limits our HP to 2. So we go there to pick it up. Plus we get a lot of
Using the demon badge is like, it's in every category. It is that powerful and speeds up the game so much more. Because like normally you start with a damage stat of 5. Even if you go and get all of the upgrades throughout the entire game, your damage stat will only become 6. There is a badge to increase your damage by 1. So normally the most you can have without the demon badge is a damage stat of 7. The demon badge itself sets our attack stat to 10. And so it's not that much out of the way. It gives us a lot of money so we can use it to pay off a contract. And then it instantly becomes it gives us the most possible damage we can have of literally any setup in the game. So every single category gets the demon badge.
complete, and it's in this little skyscraper. Fortunately, the exit for this dungeon is on the same screen as the beginning.
And this skip for this dungeon was found during the demo. So like even before the game came out, we found this. Normally this dungeon's like 5 to 8 minutes. that one jump skips the entirety of it.
Because the main dungeon, the loading zone doesn't exist unless I have this badge. We can clip into the little doorway, but it doesn't do anything for us. We need this badge.
We have a couple different ways to clip into that area. So we have a category that bans zips. There's a different way we can get into that area for the skyscraper without zipping. But of course, zipping in there is just the fastest.
In this district is being used to fuel excavation projects for diamonds, which are destroying the city. So now we're coming down here to stop him. We learned the wall dash ability here, which allows me to bounce off walls when I hit them with my yo-yo, which is going to get rid of my infinite jump, unfortunately, but that won't be too big of a deal. Here I'm going to do a very specific zip into this little alcove here to grab this money bag that's worth $1,000. And then if I move slightly into the middle of the doorway, I can zip straight to the boss.
And then the Slime Tycoon fight here. This is the one I was really... I wanted to make sure I could actually do this right. Because when I did the run at PAX, I messed up my inputs and was not able to actually show how fast this boss actually dies. And so being able to actually show it off here felt really good, even though it's not even like that difficult of a thing to do.
Just watch what happens because of that.
Boss just melts. Normally the boss jumps around, but you do so much damage so quickly that it doesn't get a chance to move.
And he's gone. He put up 0 fight. now
And
we're
then
going for a little trick.
this skip right here was actually... It was inspired by a mistake I made when I was doing this run for Fastest Furs. Now, normally, every time you beat a boss, there's this little fanfare, and you're just kind of waiting for the cutscene to start. When I was doing this run for Fastest Furs, I was just running around the arena, just killing time. And then just as the fanfare ended, I fell into a pit and respawned in like this upper right corner. And that was the first time we had ever seen something like that, where we could actually change where we were spawning after the cutscene. And so in December, another member of the community, Idea, found that if you do that exact same thing, but standing in this spot, you end up spawning right here, which makes it to where we can break the battery a whole lot faster.
I didn't do it in time.
But there, I didn't even move. But we would spawn right behind the battery, which allows us to break it a whole lot faster.
Easier to break it. So that's Slime Tycoon down and our second mega battery. So now we're going to go back to that one taxi spot I mentioned earlier. So to keep in mind where I just activated a taxi spot and then left. We don't need any upgrades anymore. We don't need any badges. We don't need any upgrades. We are literally set for the rest of the run at this point. So we're going to go to the one of the last dungeons, which is actually the first dungeon. It's in a giant mall where the guy who has that mega battery is using it to fuel the mall as well as his food production system. And it's normally a very cumbersome dungeon to do because you're supposed to go around a bunch of areas around the mall, collect some keys, and unlock an elevator. But we're going to do the third type of zip. Now, the third type of zip is...
So this
If I can...
This is a very, and I mentioned here, it's the trickiest skip in the run. Not because it's actually difficult, but doing a 1 frame pause when you're zipping and your speed at zipping it varies based on how close you are to the loading zone. And so you want to stand in a very specific spot so you get a very specific amount of speed when you're zipping. And then still, with that specific amount of speed, you still have to hit 1 frame. And this specific zip was found by me on complete accident. Because somebody, I think while I was streaming, somebody was mentioning that they found a zip from this room down to the lower part of the dungeon. And I thought that they were talking about this screen, or like this room, but they were actually talking about zipping from over here. So you can zip from here to the area I'm about to zip to, but I thought they were talking about this door, and so I was like, oh, well, let me mess with it. And so I did it from here, which skips having to do all the puzzles that we were originally thinking we'd have to do on this next screen, like the next couple screens up. And there's not that many. There's like maybe 5 or 6 screens we'd have to do before we could do the zip from here. But me accidentally misinterpreting what this person told me and trying to do the zip from here, completely skipped all those rooms.
Same exact frame that I screen transition from a zip, it'll unload collision. See, that's what it looks like normally if I try to zip from here. But if I can pause on the same frame as I screen transition.
I believe this is also a very tight trick.
Yeah, it is. You get one frame for this.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing me pause a bunch. It's because I'm not very good at hitting it just blind. There we go.
Oh.
And now,
we're here.
And now we're down here.
so we skipped almost the entirety of the dungeon. I'm going to do another one here. And now I'm going to show off another trick.
So this next UFO chaining trick was found just after my PAX run. So when I got back from PAX, somebody in the community found this trick. And they originally showed it as like it might be a very small window of time, like you may get a couple frames to do the input. And so I was originally learning it as like I needed to time it at a very specific part in the animation. And then I learned that you don't actually really need to time it. If you literally just mash the inputs for the UFO throw, you can get it almost 100% of the time. And the thing I've always cautious about is the controller I'm using, this little green controller. It likes to squeak with some of the buttons. And so my concern is, like, would it be audible enough for people to hear that I'm literally just mashing the hell out of the controller?
The UFO throw can do. I can actually chain them if I mash the inputs for the UFO throw. I can UFO throw after UFO throw, and I basically have that infinite jump again.
So the benefit of us finding that trick is, I mentioned it when I got the wall dash ability. If I now jump and hit my yo-yo against the wall, I get pushed back. So I can no longer do the infinite jump unless I use the off-string throw to throw the yo-yo off the string. The thing about doing that is the yo-yo will come back to the string eventually, meaning that you can't do it for very long, and you also can't do it across screen transitions. So in a different route, we would skip the wall dash and would not have it throughout the entirety of the run, making some of the challenges later more difficult, but it was, we needed to have the ability to do the jump resets. Finding that we could do the UFO chaining meant that now we didn't need to have a wall to infinitely jump anymore. We could just UFO chain to infinitely jump. And while it is ever so slightly slower than just doing a normal jump reset, we get a little bit more distance, and it no longer means that we lose out. Like, we can take the wall dash ability and speed up the later parts of the run slightly by losing a little bit of time at this point by using the UFO chaining instead of doing jump resets. And it also makes the skip I'm about to do a whole lot simpler and not as cumbersome to do it with UFO chaining instead of just normal jump resets.
You can still jump reset if you take off the...
So like here, I can do it.
Do the jump reset again with just the string, but it is not as good because the yo-yo will return to my hands either after.
So doing this skip here, we would normally do it with jump resets. And if you jump reset over a screen transition, it feels like it can eat your inputs. And so you have to like redo the directional, like the quarter circle inputs just after the screen transition in a very very quickly in order to preserve it. And then where you would jump from there is also just very awkward. So we would jump reset all the way here, and then we would jump reset off this wall to bounce far enough out so we could jump reset off this corner piece and then jump reset off of this. But instead of doing that, we can just UFO throw. Unfortunately there, I do mess it up.
On a different screen and hadn't touched the floor, I don't take damage from that. So we're gonna do this. Bounce.
Yeah, we would jump reset off that and then jump reset off this to land onto this platform. But instead, doing it with UFO throw chaining like that, it's a whole lot safer.
If you guys like to explain how Dawn works.
Dawn shoots you with guns. It's got a lot of different guns, and you can parry them back at him to stun them for a little bit.
Yeah, so the first attack that Dawn does is always the same. but then it's kind of up to luck after on where Dawn will go, and what Dawn will do.
But you like typically want them to use like either of those attacks, the one that has a bunch going after one after another, or this one.
Yeah, the scatter shot seems to be the best.
Scatter shot, that's a word.
There we go. All right.
And then the same thing I was trying to do at the Slime Tycoon, you can do here as well to get slightly closer to the battery. I did it a little too early there.
I didn't. Okay. Normally I would spawn a little bit closer to the battery doing that.
Doesn't get you nearly as close as the slime one does, but it puts you like right at the bridge.
One last battery, and it's at that very first dungeon I went into and then didn't do anything other than UFO throw. So we have to go all the way back there. But before I leave, I'm going to unequip these two and give myself back the teleport badge.
Yeah, you need it to get in still, right? Because we don't have the ticket.
Yep. And then normally there's supposed to be an elevator that takes me down here. I did not activate the elevator, so when I go through this elevator, I need to hold down so that the first possible frame of input will allow me to walk into this water and just let me reset into the room.
If you don't do that, you get stuck in a wall, and it's not a soft.
So with there, if I don't hold down, the game just pushes you into a wall. And it's not like it's a soft lock, sort of. You can just pause and choose return to safe house, and you'll spawn the safe house that's at the entrance to the dungeon. So it's not like a big deal, but it's a whole lot faster to just hold down and not have to pause and return to the safe house. Normally this dungeon is one of the largest ones, but because the final area is literally just behind the start like that, we can just get back over here. This fight is another one that it's very easy to lose time on just because of how much this boss trolls. So his whole thing is if you're close enough to him, he will jump away from you. And a lot of like early runs, we were just trying to go in and run at him and do as much damage as possible. We then learned that like trying to approach him when he's not attacking is why he jumps away. And so a lot of the time here, you're just going to see me wait for him to attack before I go in and do anything to him. And that's just because when he's basically locked into his attack animation, and then when I hit him with the flurry attack, it then stun locks him. There is a way to cheese this fight even more, but we have no way of doing it consistently. It is entirely possible for him to get stuck on one of these little hooks, and if he gets stuck on a hook, he does not move anymore. He does not do any attacks anymore. He is literally just sitting there, and he can just take damage. We have not been able to find a way to consistently get him stuck like that, but there was a run where somebody got him stuck for I think the entire fight. And so there is a community gold for this fight that without us being able to figure out how to do it consistently, there is no way to actually beat, because it's hard to beat a boss fight time where the boss literally doesn't move and doesn't fight back. Give me a second, my cat is wanting out of my office. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, this is like the most annoying fight in the run, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like very RNG dependent.
He jumps around a lot. He likes to troll. He's not very fun, and he is.
The New Game Plus run does this fight first, and because of that, this is where New Game Plus runs reset the most, is this fight, because of how much time you can lose to him just jumping around.
Now would be a good time for maybe one or two last donations.
Awesome. Just a reminder, we are almost halfway there to the Space Mustafar showcase in Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'll get a couple of minutes to show off the coolest space battle mission. We need just over 2,500, but we got some love for this run. $25 from Enrique, who says, awesome to see Pipistrello on AGDQ. Shout out to Silver, Yo-Yo Bats against cancer.
This is also the type of zip you can get from this depends on your position. There is a zip you can get that'll bring you straight to the manor. I don't talk about it here. I think I glanced over it like early into the run. But depending on how close you stand to the screen transitions can impact how far the zip goes. So the usual way we do it is with, like if you're zipping left to right, we base it off of Pipit's nose. So if Pipit's nose is off screen, you go a little bit farther than if his nose is visible. So sometimes we will do zips where his nose is visible, and then sometimes where his nose isn't visible. And that's just because sometimes going a little bit further is a downside. There is one specific spot where if you zip with his nose off screen, you get put into an area where you're soft locked and cannot escape. And so we can do the same thing with going up and down, but it's a whole, like zipping down, you base it off of his shadow. And so if his shadow is completely off screen, you get the farther zip. But zipping upward is a bit more tricky because you have to tell based off of his head, and he has an idle animation where he bobs up and down. So it's very difficult to at a glance very quickly tell how many pixels of his head are off screen or not, because he's always just bobbing up and down. And if you get enough of his head off screen and zip here, you will literally zip all the way up to the manor. But I did not get it, so I have to cross the street here. But I would normally, if I got the good zip, I'd literally zip to this spot right here.
Or 1/10 the size of Hollow Knight. That's impressive engineering.
I love these small file sizes.
And then here, I also need this zip to be with his nose off screen
I'm going to do a zip in here. So normally we would go around the
to skip all of this. Because now that we're in the late game, the manor has entered its like the final dungeon version of it, where everything is collapsing. This room all falls apart because you're normally supposed to use the wall ride ability to get back up here. If we don't get this zip, we have to navigate this room with all the floor being gone, which just takes time because now we have to UFO chain around the whole room. Or you can technically still jump reset off corners because you can't wall bounce off corners. So you can jump reset along these corners to get back up here, or you can just UFO chain. Or you can just zip with his nose off screen and land right here.
whole Pipistrello Manor in a final dungeon, but conveniently, the final boss room is one screen down from here. So now we're in the final
And
boss
now we're in the fight.
So what ends up happening is our cousins have actually betrayed us, and they have made it to where the mega batteries, instead of putting our aunt back together, enrage her. So now all she wants to do is get rid of us. And now we need to make the...
So the first phase of this is pretty consistent. We have a way of doing it the same way every time.
Is to hug the final boss with $777.20.
And then for the first bit of this fight, we want to just run into her and deal as much damage as possible. And each of these challenge rooms is tailored towards all the abilities in the game to show that you've actually learned how to chain them together. Obviously, because we didn't learn any of them, we had to find ways to do every single one of these rooms with the UFO chaining. Originally, we did them with the jump resets back when we didn't have this trick and we didn't use the wall dash. It is excruciatingly difficult to do some of these rooms with just normal jump resets because of the angles and where some of these walls are. Because we need a wall to jump off of, some of these challenge rooms are also borderline impossible to do with just jump resets. And so it was entirely possible to just lose a run at the very end because of the challenge areas you got.
We don't have that, so we just jump over it.
So now with this battery section, instead of having 2 challenge rooms per phase, we get 1. And she starts incorporating a new attack where she will use the batteries to protect her and just turn into like a bullet hell. We want to be able to do enough damage to skip these bullet hell sections because they waste time. So like there, I got to skip one. Here, we can do this one as intended because it's normally to be done with the UFO throw that way. We want to see this room repeated as much as possible.
It's random after the first 2.
So this is a thing that can lose a lot of time. We don't want to see this, so we want to be able to do enough damage to skip the 2 times we will see that. This is a tricky room to get.
Active research ongoing.
2, 3. I turn this way.
Because you need to do 3 of the UFO chains in a very specific spot to end up with that exact lineup.
Thankfully, after this, we no longer have any of those challenge rooms. So now, after we finish this room, she's going to incorporate some new attacks. One of them being she's going to turn the batteries into a sword. We want her to spam that the most because she stands still for almost the entirety of it. So this, oh, that's fine. Come on. Oh. Okay, I thought she was going to go into something else there.
Yeah, we're doing this all with 2 health.
So that death is unfortunate, but because the checkpoint is literally at this phase of the fight, it doesn't lose a whole lot of time, but it does backfire on the fact that we play the game as a glass cannon. I could have gone, because there was a rose sitting over here, I probably could have gotten it, but, and this is what we never want to see. So she's telling the mega batteries to function on their own, with the yellow one there shooting in a circle, the red one always acts as a shield, the blue one slams down. These ones are annoying because the mega batteries will also tank damage for her, so we want her to never use that because we just can't get as much damage in as we could with this.
Now we're at the final hit. I'm going to go into the options. I'm going to change auto skip cutscenes off. As we've gone through
So with this room, normally I'm going to skip through the part where I'm reading the cutscenes. So normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use the off-string throw to hit the batteries to knock them into the void. There is a slightly faster strat you can do where you can use jump resets off these corner pieces to hit the batteries and then jump reset back onto the platform. It is faster to do it that way, but at 1 health, I'm not going to risk it. And if you do that while you're at, like, even if I were to hit 3 of them that way with 1 health, if you do it again on the final battery with 1 health, you will fall into the void during the cutscene and take damage and die. So it's very risky to do, but it is slightly faster to do if you have the health to spare to risk it. So again, I'm just going to skip all this. I do end up calling time too late because time is supposed to be right here. Like you can see the timer up here turns green. That's when time is supposed to be, but I completely just spaced on it and called time late. So we're going to skip all this because the ending doesn't really matter. So this is what I mentioned earlier. There was somebody in the AGDQ Discord who pointed out that there's apparently some individual who reviews GDQ runs, and they reviewed this incentive as its own run and gave it like a 1 out of 5 stars, citing it as like nobody needed this and that it's not really a speed run if I'm reading the cutscene for most of it. The point of this is to not be a run. It literally says right there, it's a showcase. The point of this was to show a little secret in here, and it was not supposed to be for speed's sake. It was just to show off something silly that the game has.
So I'm actually going to manually skip the cutscenes here because I didn't re-enable the setting, but that's fine. So now what we're going to do is we have every ability in the game, so we're going to go back into the Pipistrello.
So there's the walk the dog move that you won't see.
Return to the final boss area. Now we're going to return to the final boss room without the mega batteries, and there's actually a secret for doing that. If you can make it all.
Oh yeah, my estimate was very, very generous, so I knew I could get away with it. I also, when I met with my host beforehand, I told her that my plan was to read the cutscenes, and she's like, "Oh, you're fine. I will be helping with production, and I will just let them know you're fine. Your estimate is like, my PB is 26 minutes. My estimate was 40 minutes. There was, in almost no way was I going to be close to my estimate, and so they were completely fine with me reading off the ending like that, because it's not like I was going to push things anyway.
So unfortunately, as we get down here, so there it is. There's the machine.
So there really isn't a whole lot to show here because we've seen it, but yeah. So I got to fortunately show off this.
So yes, we call it bad ending because not only is you get the alternative ending, so to speak, but also we are now because the retry of this room button will put you back into the entrance of the room that you entered. But because I entered here unintended, trying to reset and retry will put me back into the cutscene, meaning that I am indefinitely stuck here unless I Alt F4. So there's no way to escape the dance party. We are stuck here perpetually.
And you can kind of hear here that I'm losing my voice.